Hey there, Internet. Welcome to the Hard On Gear channel, where I discuss and review my used and abused knives and gear. Holy smokes! It is always a challenge in these collection videos to get everything on the screen. Normally, what I have on the table isn't exactly what I have as far as all of my knives. It's kind of what I'm limited to as far as what I could get on the table. H.o.g stickers, if you want them, let me know. h.o.g on channel. hardongearchannel at gmail.com or hardongearchannel at Instagram. If you want to shoot me a message, let me know your address. I could send you a couple stickers. This is going to be the final 5, Volume 2, Version 2, whatever you want to call it. I did the original one back, I want to say May or something like that of 2021. It is a open tagged video from Metal Complex. Check his channel out. He is one of the main channels that kind of got me interested in the idea of starting a knife channel. But you can go check out the first video I did, which kind of breaks down exactly what the context of each category is. I'm going to touch on it in this video too, just so this can be a standalone. But if you want a longer, well, I think this is going to be a shorter one, but if you want a longer, more of a rambly version, go check the first video out and you can see what I picked for my final 5 knives in each category. I'll still let you know at the end of this video or throughout this video what those 5 knives were, but for now, I'll just kind of pick away at some of the knives on the table, which I know I'm not going to be choosing, and then we'll start maybe nailing off some of these categories. But the 5 categories are 1 durable beater knife, 1 budget EDC, 1 high-end EDC, 1 grail knife, and 1 gentleman's EDC. The 5 categories are kind of in the context of if I had only 5 knives in my collection that I could keep, how would I pick them so that they could kind of cover all the broad categories for me and they can kind of play off each other's strengths and weaknesses. At least that's how I remember it and how I interpret it in my head. If I'm wrong on that, somebody let me know. And Metal Complex, if you happen to watch this, if I'm off on any of this stuff, let me know and I will correct it or take it down or whatever. But anyways, I'll hopefully get this up on his playlist, which I'll have my other video and the other people's final 5 videos if you want to check those out. And without any further delays or ado, we shall start peeling off some of these knives I will be picking, like the Cold Steel Kiridashi. It's a small little utility carving knife in my mind, at least that's what I purchased it for. Budget EDC, budget beater category, but not today. Also, we'll take the small M16 10 KSF, I believe. Yeah, 10 KSF. This not exactly my style of small flipper frame lock. And while we're there, gentleman EDC conversation. We'll put those 2 next to each other, actually. And how about multi-tools? Multi-tools, no, it's possible for budget EDC or maybe high-end EDC. That's not going to beat my knives out, so for budget EDC, that's the only category that would fit in. Budget EDC, not going to happen. Leatherman Squirt out as well, 2 Leathermans out. We'll keep the sack on the table for now. Get rid of the minimalist because you guys know I'm not a fan of that. Too tiny, haven't used it enough to give it full credit yet. It is a fantastic knife for the size to ability ratio. From what I hear, just again too small for my liking. Speaking of too small, womp womp, Rat Model 2 in D2, but too small and liner locks, especially with my right hand, sketch me out because I'm left-handed and I tend to cut myself on those. So, final 5. If we were to take one category now that I can tell you for sure I have a winner, well, the gentleman's EDC is going to be between the 940-2 and the CRKT CEO. I don't know if there is another competitor, although in my semi-rural environment, I could probably get away with calling the Grohmann #1 belt design, or Grohmann #1 design knife with the belt carried leather sheath. That could fit the gentleman EDC as well. Same with the Spyderco Bow River with that black leather sheath wherever in the world it is right here. So you could call that gentleman EDC in a lot of rural places. We'll put those 4 kind of in the mix for that. The QSB Penguin, too, actually, is kind of a classier knife compared to a lot of the things I carry. Perhaps even the CJRB Rampart. Yeah, gentleman's carry. Drop shutty action, you stupid, cheap, awesome, budget Chinese blade. Anyways, the budget or rather gentleman's EDC category to me is probably going to be one of these two. Previously it was the 940-2. It was the only option really other than those two fixed blades. This is very much meant to be a gentleman's suit carry, a pocket carry, an office carry, something a classy person might carry. But I'm not a gentleman, I am not classy, and I prefer to, if I'm going to carry something like that, have something that I can also work with, and this thing can put in some work. 940-2, gentleman's EDC. I'll make some room. In the meantime, I'll put that right here. And I'll be real with you, the sack's not going to make the cut. I was trying to keep an open mind, but I'm not going to be picking that for my final 5. It'd be a good idea to have one, though, wouldn't it? As a, God, I'll bring it back. It'd be a good idea to have one, maybe, in the mix if I had to only have 5. I'm trying. Swiss Army knife people. I'm going to take the Luzon out because compared to the other knives on the table, the Luzon's not going to hit any of those categories. Well, how about we remove some of these big ass fixed blades, because budget beater, budget by the way has to be 75 or under American or under 100 Canadian. That's sort of the rough area we're calling budget. The high-end EDC, anywhere's from $100 beyond. You pick how crazy you want to get. But the K-bar large heavy bowie doesn't really fit any category other than maybe a grail. If I had, say for grail, it could be a high monetary value or high personal or sentimental value or whatever, legacy. This is not going to fit any category for me, so the K-bar large heavy bowie, while it is one of my favorite knives and one of my favorite fixed blades, if you want to see that video, this does not make the cut today. Say, if you tuned in this long, would you mind hitting the like button for me and helping drive this video out into the YouTube world to more people via this lovely YouTube algorithm, which likes like buttons being hit? Thanks a lot. The gentleman's EDC, only one we picked so far. How about we narrow down our budget EDC? And in saying budget, these two fixed blades here are also under 100 Canadian or under 75 US. This one here is right over that limit, just barely, at least Canadian. I know I'm paying about 110 or 115 bucks for this. K-bar USMC, so out of the mix for all categories for this guy. Could be a grail though. It's one of my most used and most long-owned, hard-used, appreciated fixed blades. Just not going to be the grail I'm choosing today. But budget EDC under 75 bucks, fixed blade or folder. The big ones that come to mind, the winner of the budget EDC pick last time was actually the Cold Steel Bird and Game, which interesting, but my collection was a lot smaller. This was one of the first, maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 videos that I did when I created the channel. So my collection was limited to a lot of the old and, to be honest, cheap crap that I had when I'd first, over the first 10 years of my knife and gear use. But that's a budget contender because it is pretty wicked. For budget EDC, this one kind of comes to mind, except maybe more of a budget beater, which is in a category. So Cold Steel Tough Light, not happening. But as I use that thing more, maybe it will grow on me a little bit. It could be a beater if that's the category we're going to put it in, but there's definitely better stuff on the table. Budget EDC, I think so. So there's 2 up for the title. Budget EDC, definitely a contender. Budget EDC, the Penguin and the Rampart, but these are cool. They're cool. Not going to pick either of these for my final 5. As I get more use, like I said, with some of the other knives, maybe I will get some more appreciation for them. But off of the list for now. I mean, EDC-wise, I'm not carrying a hip fixed blade as my EDC in this case for budget. Like, it's not going to be one of these guys. I kind of know just based on what I carry. I don't tend to carry these as an EDC. It's typically just like a work knife. I guess, yeah, you're looking at the rat up here. I'm not that big of a fan. The CRKT M16 though, that's in there, definitely in there. We can take this off the table, I guess, too, because it's not going to cut for gentleman's carry. It's not going to make the cut for anything else either. The rational and pragmatic part of my brain says pick the multi-tool so that you have a multi-tool in that final 5. Sorry to keep overusing the word, but again, context is very important in this video. If I am talking about 5 knives that I'm going to have for the rest of my life, or the only 5 knives I can carry, having a multi-tool in there would be very, very important. If I'm breaking down the categories individually, like I'm going to try and do right now, the budget EDC king for me of my collection is going to be the CRKT M16 03BS in Sandvik steel 14C28N, which is awesome. This thing has been a beast in the woods. I've used this for wildfire stuff a little bit. Very, very popular amongst military folks. It's a very, very simplistic frame lock flipper knife. Works very well even once gritty and grimy, and still functions and works just fine. We're making some room. We've got 2 categories down. That is the budget EDC and the gentleman's EDC. We'll make a lot of room with this next category when I pick my beater knife. So why don't we get rid of some of the knives that just lost out on the budget EDC category, like the SAC, which, sorry, it was a close race. You almost made it. The Ghost Strike here, which not gonna make the Grail or the beater category, or the high-end EDC, of course, because this is a fairly decent price budget knife. Still have to redo my unboxing of this because I did lose that one. I will eventually get to doing that because I know people are probably like, hey, where'd that come from? I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that was my last time's budget EDC, but again, out of the mix for this particular race. Don't know how knives would race, but it's not the point. I guess this could have been considered budget EDC, but this was being saved, of course, for the tank conversation, as one might expect. Kind of wish there was a category for a tank folder and a tank fixed blade, because, geez, it's going to be hard to pick. But that's definitely in the running. Budget, or not budget, beater. Definitely the Azula 2 is in the running. We'll save that for the high-end EDC conversation, just for shits and gigs. But let's see about the Top Mill Spy Elite for a beater. I'd say you're definitely worth talking about. Yeah, Glock field knife. And SRK, we've already proven, not the beater for me. Maybe this was a bad luck thing. Maybe this was me being way too hard on a knife, using it the way it shouldn't be used. Regardless, not going to be one of my knives I pick for my Final 5. SRK and SK5 going away. Okay, for these fixed blades, I guess we can take away those, because we all know I don't like the traditional stuff. So we're going to take those out of the conversation, because neither of those are going to make it. The Moras and the Condor Pterosaur are in the mix for the beaters, without a doubt. I'm going to say, again, the typical conversation of the Moras. I've got the stainless, so you can go stainless or carbon companion. You can go with the robust or all the other models, the bushcraft, the basic, the Eldris. There's all kinds of stuff out there for Moras. I'm just going to leave it to the Garberg for now. Pick your favorite Mora and argue with me later in the comments if you want. I'm totally game for a good comment argument, although we've been pretty damn good. The Hog comment section is holding strong. Pretty positive couple of trolls, but a couple of trolls never hurt nobody. They need something to do too to make themselves feel good. Okay, so beaters. I guess the only other ones, we'll haul the Recon 1 and the 8015 out. These other ones could be thrown in there too, maybe. Geez, you could put the Rat 1 in there, but we're not going to pick the Rat 1. You know I'm not going to pick the Rat 1. Too vanilla for me. That's why I had to get that one, an orange in particular, just to give it a little bit of flair to make me kind of like it, which didn't work. So, beaters. The EDC, or sorry, not the EDC, the beater of last version, the video number 1, Final 5, was the Azula number 2. That's a beater, for sure. Since then, the only knife on the table that I had at that time was the Recon 1, so we've got a lot of new options here for possibilities. All these cold steel folding knives are awesome. Now, knowing I already have 2 folders, it's tempting for me to have a fixed blade, just in case one doesn't make my other categories. We're talking about a beater, an absolute beater, a beater that you could just beat off stuff until it freaking, assuming that you die before the knife ever would. Fixed blades are going to beat folders. Let's take the folders out of there. And I would say, well, high-end EDC, there's still room, but this thing has now lost its only chance, I would say, to make one of the categories. So SR1 Light off the table. These still have a hope, though, so we'll keep those there. The Mill Spy Elite, while it's awesome compared to the other knives, is not going to make the cut. Pun very much intended. And next we can take the Condor Pterosaur off, because I've been back and forth between which one I like better, and up to this current point in time, maybe only because I've used it more, I like the Mora more. And it's maybe because it fills my hand better, maybe because as I've used it more, it feels more comfortable and natural than the slightly thinner handled, but less contoured and much more universal handled Condor Pterosaur. So we'll take the Pterosaur off for now. Really, really like that knife though. Glock field knife, yeah, you can leave too, because while you are a beater, you're not going to take the same amount of abuse these two are. Leverage and physics and stuff, I'm sure. And the hard decision. Wow, this is funny. I'm getting some weird deja vu from a previous issue comparison conversation from a video, which I'll post up here, which was my if I could only have one knife. All right, SE Azula could do less, but it's smaller. It's as thicker in the blade stock department. Less likely of a chance you're going to break it, and if you do, you can replace it for free via SE's warranty by saying, hey, this thing got eaten by a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but then it defecated and I found the pieces because maybe T-Rex stomach acid is enough to dissolve 1095 high carbon steel. I don't know, I'm not a T-Rex expert. You could send that away to SE with that explanation and they will send you a new knife back. Being that the Final 5 video is not a scenario of the apocalypse happening, and we're going to assume SE's factory is still available to fulfill their warranty, this thing is going to beat the Morgarberg for me in the beater category. Not by a lot, because this thing could take a whopping, and it has. Oh man, this thing, I batoned with, oh my goodness, what did I use? I might have used a freaking hatchet or something. Like, I dinged the steel all up to crap here, which, hard on gear, what do you do? I should sharpen it up a little bit, but it actually might help grip the ferro rod better now and get even more sparks. But, great knife. Didn't make the beater category, so we're going to take it off the table. SE Azula, beater, same as the first video. So we've got a repeat, and a new budget EDC so far. How about we look at high-end EDC? So over $100, somewhere in that range. We're looking at all these. This technically would be just over the line. Back when the AUS8 version was out, I think I paid $120 or so for this Canadian, around 80 to $100 American, I think at the time, maybe as low as 75, 80, but just over the line. And in the newer models with the newer steels, definitely over into the high-end EDC or mid-range EDC. You could call high-end EDC like your Hinderers, Chris Reeves, all those $5, $6, $8, $9, $1,000+ knives and your customs. But we're just talking about production high-end EDCs in this video. This is what we're looking at. Of course, these being already picked, so we're not going to double those up, but the 940-2 would be in this conversation as well. So, not going to pick the Blur because it's right-hand clip only, and I'm not the biggest fan of that, although it's a great knife and I have used it outside of carrying it in my pocket EDC-wise, but as far as an EDC high-end, not going to do it. The Recon 1 is on the lower end, and with an AUS8 steel in this version, I can't call it a high-end EDC truly, so while it does technically make the category, we'll count it out for this one. While it does pain me dearly, probably, maybe, I don't know what to do with these four because I love all four of these knives very, very much. Last time, as you might know if you are at all a viewer of the channel, the Manix 2 got the win, as this has been typically my favorite folding knife of the last year. Out of these four right now, I'll say for sure the Paramilitary 2 is the one that stands out as the one that I'm not going to be picking for this category. It's everything it's supposed to be. It's the Paramilitary 2, and this thing, as much as I like a beefier knife in my hand, feels just at home, and it's so nice, and it's so fun to fidget with, and that compression lock just pops off like no other lock or mechanism of anything that I've played with, at least in a knife. But these three, the 8015's beautiful, and this thing right off the hop made such a good impression, and it really is built for my hand. I like to carry slicey folders, and the Recon 1, the old version I have, is a hollow grind, so it could actually get a pretty decent edge behind it. This thing, is that rust or food? I can't tell. Nope, not rust. This thing has got a nice full flat grind, but it's not the sliciest knife in the world. If I'm going to have 5 knives and a couple of those knives are already going to be pretty beefy, like I know for sure I'm going to have my beater as a beefy thick knife, maybe I could do without having another big tanky thick thing. I don't know. I love this thing. I love the Scorpion lock. This is very, very fun to fidget with. I can almost get a reverse flick. Almost get a... Nope, not quite. Just because of that alone, I'm getting rid of it. No, just kidding. It really comes down to these two. The Paramilitary Pacific Salt 2 has impressed me beyond anything I thought would be possible with this knife. I've been eyeing this thing up since very first looking for my replacement EDC with the Manix 2. And it took a while to pull the trigger, and I'm glad I finally did. Wish I did sooner, because I love this knife, even though it's not the most fidget friendly. Spyderco does make a very good back lock, and you can get away with fidgeting with this knife just fine if you want to, but in all other categories of knife use, except for maybe extreme toughness, this thing's pretty rugged, but it's definitely not the same as the Manix 2 or anything else that was on the table. Really, really happy with this knife. Final 5 though, production knife. Oh, this is really hard. This is really hard. I can't say yet that the Pacific Salt 2 beats the Manix 2 for me as far as what's the absolute best in my hand and my favorite folder. In the end, this may change. The battle between these two is real in my heart and in my mind at the moment. So for now, the Manix 2 is going to, even though I'm failing Spidey flicks, this thing needs to be cleaned and lubricated. It's getting a little gritty from actual use and abuse, like you would imagine. It's awesome. It is probably the best folding knife I have used for my personal desires and needs and hand and all that stuff. We'll see how it goes over time. So we got one category left and we got one knife on the table here. Of course, I've got to pull a few knives back because I forgot that I still need to do the Grail conversation. And really, I'm only going to pull out the Recon 1, which was my Grail knife from last time. And honorable mention, this Buck 112 knockoff from my father, which was handed down, I think, from his mother and so on and so forth, down the line to me. Not that many so-ons or so forths, it's only 3 generations, but that's got a lot of sentimental value. My first knife, first real knife, I had a Swiss Army knife or a knockoff, can't remember before that. This was the main contender for the Grail slot before I got the Tor Anaconda. Just sentimental value versus, I guess, both sentimental value. Sentimental value for a legacy and gift sake versus sentimental value of my very first knife and the precursor to what launched into a whole big knife obsession. First good knife, I should say. First well-researched, good quality knife. Put that away. I'd find a way to smuggle that one in. Between these two, I love the Recon 1, and if you made me choose one of these knives that I had to give away, it would be very, very hard for me to part with this, knowing what this thing has done and the experiences and the periods through my life. Periods, it's only been 10 years, 8, 9 years since I bought this thing, but still, you know, a man's 20s is a very formative point in his life, and the Recon 1 seen me through all of my 20s, so very, very hard to do this, but I think I'm in love. This thing, I really pat myself on the back here. I friggin' nailed it with this purchase. I don't care if this thing costs more money than it already did. I probably would have picked it anyways, purchased it anyways, because once I seen it, I had my eye on it, and once the money was in the account, oh man, this thing was getting purchased. So the Tor Anaconda, American made, beautiful freaking Grail knife. Also Grail, not necessarily because it's the most expensive knife I own, but it is also the most expensive knife that I own, so that works out pretty well. Here's your final 5 for volume 2. Looks a little bit different than last time, but not too much. So we've got 3 repeats, and then last time, I guess what we were looking at was the same exact thing, except with these knives, the Recon 1 and the Cold Steel Burden Game, in the place of the CRKT M16 as the budget EDC, and the Tor Anaconda as the Grail knife. The high-end EDC, production EDC, of course, being the Manix 2, and the beater, Essie Azula 2, the gentleman's carry, the 940-2 from Benchmade. And there you have it, folks. Again, please feel free to check out the volume 1 of this video over on the right side panel here, or any of the other videos that'll be popping up in that playlist below. There's also the stamp up here if you want to go check out the h.o.g channel itself and see what else we got going on, or subscribe if you haven't. Appreciate that. Hit the like button if you don't mind doing that as well. Thanks for watching. This is the Hard On Gear channel signing off.